Welcome to Cafe Rainy Days. Hi, Revati.
Hello, and I would like to begin with Sarvam Krishnarpanam Astu.
Sarvam Krishnarpanamastu. So, before I introduce our interesting guest, as you've already found out, she's interesting with her very first words. Just a very, very humble request to all who like this channel to please subscribe to the channel. Today's guest, Revati Godbole, is primarily a counselor, a self-help counselor. Revati runs two really successful workshops, Science of Soul and Meditation. This is based on past life regression techniques and meditation, and Gateway to Happiness, which is based on Innerchild Healing and Family Constellation Therapy. As I said, these are hugely successful workshops which have benefited a huge number of people. Amongst other things, Revati is also a counselor. She is a marital counselor, an adolescent counselor, a child counselor. She's also a consultant counselor for 5 schools in Pune. Revati is also a guest lecturer and also conducts teacher training. So without further ado, Revati, I'll straight away start with you. We'll begin with 2 topical questions. At the time of recording today, it is Father's Day. And as we were just discussing a few minutes ago, I said to you, Father's Day, every day is Father's Day. And you said something really interesting. What are your thoughts about Father's Day?
Father is someone who helps you throughout. I mean, it's not just the one who has given you birth. It's also someone who has given you genes. It's also someone who is, there in form of blessings. So it's all your ancestors who are your fathers too. And you show your gratitude to them by just remembering them for this one day at least. Because we do stay in touch with our parents for sure. But we often forget our ancestors. We forget our grandparents. We forget our great-grandparents who have also contributed to what we are today. We have taken genes from every single one of them. Fathers are fathers because mothers let them be. And mothers are mothers because fathers let them be. Father's Day is actually remembering your all ancestral family and being grateful towards them.
The second topical question, as I said, round about this time, of course, today we are celebrating Father's Day, but tomorrow, 21st of June, is going to be Yoga Day, International Yoga Day. And I'm going to ask you a question about breathing. And it's also topical from the point of view of this pandemic and so many people suffering from breathing issues. I know you are a breath mastery trainer. So from that point of view, tell us a bit about the importance of breath and
breathing. Breathing is something which is very vital to all of us. The moment we are born, we are breathing. That is the thing which we come with and we die with. Right? So it is actually our eternal soulmate, I would say, the breath. Right? Now, the basic concept here to understand is that 70% of our excretion happens through breath, which we are not aware of. Feel that we excrete through urine, we excrete through feces, we excrete through sweat, but 70% of our toxins from the body are excreted in a breath we exhale out. That is the importance of breath, actually. So when you actually practice with breathing, breath can actually be your guide as to what is wrong where in your body. It can actually show you once you start becoming friends with your breath. There are different ways, I would say, in which you can consciously breathe. Pranayam is one of them. But the more conscious you become of your breath, the early you can notice the signs of something being wrong in your body. And the more you will exhale out all the toxins, the more you will be conscious of your exhalation and inhalation, the more fully you will be non-toxic.
So really the key is to being more and more conscious of your breath.
Become friends with your breath rather than it's something that is happening on the, it's like a backstage thing for us. We are not conscious of the breath. We are not grateful for the breath, which pandemic has of course taught us to be now. Looking at the way people have needed oxygen, people have needed ventilators, people have needed respirators. It has also taught us that we should be grateful that we can breathe naturally.
And then moving on from here, we talked about the workshops in the introduction that you do. So a major part of the workshops is past life regression. What is past life regression? And I'll club it with the question, can you share a few experiences with past life regression?
Past life regression is, our consciousness as we know it, does hold a lot of memories, not just from this lifetime, but also from our previous lifetimes. So, past life regression therapy is actually a technique to access those memories. It can be done through hypnosis, it can be done through meditation. What I follow is what Dr. Newton Kondavati has taught from Quantum Life University in Hyderabad, which is meditation technique. So through past lifetimes, it holds key to certain queries we have in this lifetime which are not answered in this lifetime.
Hmm.
Certain sufferings that we go through, because sufferings as we know them are only painful, but they have a reason why we are going through them. Once the
Hmm.
reason becomes clear to us, we get the strength to go through it.
Hmm.
As for the experiences, many people have had a lot of experiences. I myself have had a lot of experiences with it. But the more I experiment with it, the more dimensions I think of myself open to me, of
Hmm.
certain habits, of certain, I've remembered a lifetime where I was a reindeer, and I was killed by a tiger. And the dying thought matters. So the dying thought was like, if I would have had strong legs, I would have run away faster.
Hmm.
This lifetime, I happen to have very muscular legs. I
Oh,
used to ride Pulsar 180, and I used to lift it and make space for parking. So that
wow.
muscularity comes from that lifetime. Of course, it is genetic, it comes from my ancestors, but the key lies to that in that
Hmm.
lifetime where I wished for it to happen.
Hmm.
So I've
Hmm.
always, as a teenager, it always felt odd because I never could wear those slacks or those modern clothes, or kind of, I used to be ashamed of my legs. But today, when I understand the broader sense of it, it makes me smile. So
So,
remembered a
you
lot
know,
of human lifetimes. So lot of
mhm.
experiences where why I don't like to go out in the sun, because I've had experience of dying in a desert, and it has scorched me to such an extent that I just don't like going out in the sun.
Hmm.
I just don't
Hmm.
feel comfortable when it's too hot.
So, can you clearly see these things in PLR,
Yes,
or are there
yes.
hints?
It depends on how the person's brain functions, because most of the people are visual, so they see it
Right.
like a movie. Some of
Ah,
them are kinesthetic, they feel the feelings that are
hmm.
going through. They may not see a visual actually. And some of them are auditory, they can hear the voices that are happening, like the dialogues that have happened, or kind of.
Oh, okay, okay. So it
It's
just depends
different
on
for,
which
it is
of your.
subjective. It is subjective.
Okay, okay. And
But
and
you
how do you?
definitely get the gist of the story,
Yeah.
because all
And
lives are actually a story.
hmm.
Be it the life of a king, be it a life of a barber, be it a life of a poor man, like a beggar, or be it a life of a common man or common woman. They're all stories in the end.
Hmm.
When you die,
Hmm.
your life is just a story, and
Hmm.
the gist of the story matters, and that is what you get in your past life. The session.
Right.
You get
Right.
the gist of the story, and that matters.
So what sort of questions do people come to you with for past life regression? So what sort of issues do they want resolved for, just as examples?
Basically, the whole workshop that I conduct generally first focuses on healing yourself with your present life habits, like,
Hmm.
changing them, changing yourself as a person,
Hmm.
and then searching, because it's not something that you should just go and have a walk in the garden. It's not something like that. If your issue that you are facing today is not relevant to your this lifetime habits or this lifetime thought process, then
Hmm.
you can go and search in the past lifetime. But, like, for example, I can give, like, there was a couple who had a issue, like the husband had a issue with his father, and the woman had the problem that whenever they used to try and buy a home for themselves, they were never successful. Something used to happen and the deal used to call off. When they together went into the session, man saw a lifetime where he was a daughter, and his current father was a father in that lifetime who had abused him sexually.
Oh.
So he got an answer that why he holds that anger against him, even when, like, in this lifetime the father is very good,
Yes.
father is very kind, the father is very generous, but he is not able to accept his help because
Hmm.
he's holding on to that trauma from the
Hmm.
past lifetime. And the
Hmm.
woman got an answer because she saw a lifetime where she was a rich man's daughter, and then she married a stable boy against the wishes of her father. So the father cut her off from the wealth, and then
Okay.
she had to die in poverty. So when she was dying, she had this thought that if you leave home, you die in anguish or you die in pain.
Hmm.
So now unconsciously something manifests where she can't leave her home and buy another one. She can't
Oh, I see.
separate from her in-laws home.
Ah,
After the workshop, why I'm sharing this is because after the workshop, within 2 years, they were able to buy a home. And even the boy also has good relations with his father now.
Yes.
So it
Yes.
heals. It heals you and it resolves any issues.
All these things are so, they're so beyond our what we are taught in school and the society that
Yeah.
we live in. But I would still like to tell the audiences that Revati is a qualified pharmacist, and the teacher that she mentioned, he is a surgeon, is it?
Yes, he's
Can
a
you tell
surgeon.
us a bit about your teacher as well,
He
Revati?
is Dr. Newton Kondavetti at Quantum Life University in Hyderabad. He's a MD surgeon. And for the past 30 years, he's into this field of spiritual science and meditational practices and all the healing modalities. And his wife, Dr. Lakshmi, she is an MBBS doctor and she is also accompanying him in the journey.
So these are medical doctors. There is science and there is support for this. It's not, it's not like a roadside mumbo jumbo parrot reading. Just wanted to sort of give the
Yeah.
viewers a bit of a background. So the other workshop that you also do, Revati, is Science of Soul. What is Science of Soul?
See, basically, they're just like it's a different name for spiritual science, I would say, because
Hmm.
your soul is your spirit. It
Hmm.
also, see, your soul follows certain rules, certain laws, and they are also similar to the laws of karma, which most of them might have read, most of the
Hmm.
viewers might have gone through or read or come across in some form.
Hmm.
But
Hmm.
I teach how to implement those laws in your daily life,
Hmm.
which people find otherwise difficult.
The problem also is, Revati, that at, in the West, or people on an average will sort of look at karma at a very shallow sort of, it's very
Yeah.
shallow, the view, ki, oh, so and so did something to me, so now look, he's facing this, this
Yeah.
calamity or whatever. It's very, very superficial and shallow. Tell us a bit more about, a bit more detail, please.
Laws of karma are very simple, but they are not hand for hand and eye for eye.
Mhm.
Okay. It depends on what you have sown that you will reap.
Mhm.
So if you have sown a seed of a lemon tree, you will get the fruits within 6 months. But if you have sown a mango tree, I mean a mango seed, then you will have to wait for 20 years for it to, come back to you.
Mhm.
Right. I would like to give two examples from the epics that we have, the Mahabharata epic that we have, which actually made me also think in this fashion and go towards it a little. The first is of uh, Bhishma, the character of Bhishma. He was the great grandfather of Arjuna and Pandava, I mean the Kauravas and Pandavas.
Mhm.
And when he was dying, he was given a boon by God that he could die when he wanted to, right? So he could
Yeah.
not die until the war was over and he saw that the winners are actually the genuine winners, like the people of dharma are winning. He couldn't until he saw that, he could not close his eyes, so he
Right.
preferred to stay on the arrow bed.
Hmm.
When he was in that pain, Arjuna was used to go every day and he used to apply oil to his wounds, massage them, or try to calm the pain there. And Sri Krishna himself had put an arrow into Mother Earth and made a spring appear which would constantly drip some water into his mouth,
Ah,
into Bhishma
right.
Pitamaha's mouth. When
Okay.
Bhishma was facing this and Krishna came to meet him one day, and Krishna said, "How are you?" So Bhishma said, "Why am I facing this?"
Hmm.
So he told him that, a few lifetimes back, you were a prince. You were
Hmm.
going on your horse, and there was a small salamander, I don't know, on the road, and you just lifted your, because you didn't want it to die under the hoof of your horse. With an arrow, you just put him aside, and you
Okay.
you just rode off. You didn't wait to see where he has fallen, and he had fallen on a cactus.
Ah,
So that pain you are suffering, but because your intentions were true, you
yeah.
actually wanted to save him. That is why, even in this pain, you have a great grandson who comes to you every day to apply oil, and you have God
Ah,
Himself give you water, make a water
wow.
source available for you because your intention was pure. Your
Yes.
action doesn't go unnoticed. You will have
Yeah.
to suffer that, but your
Right.
intention matters the most. Second example is that of Dhritarashtra. When the war was over, he asked Sri Krishna, "Why did I see this pain of
Hmm.
my 100 sons being dead,
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
me being the father, I'm still alive?"
Hmm.
So Krishna told him that for 51 lifetimes back,
Hmm.
you were a bird catcher, and one day you had a quarrel with your wife, So you were very angry. You just went into the jungle and you slashed all the nests there. And 100
Oh,
eggs were, broken, who could have been birds. You had to go through the pain of, 100 sons dying. So he said,
oh,
why after 51 lifetimes? Why not immediately?
yes.
So Krishna answered him that for 50 lifetimes, you had to earn that much of goodwill, good karma, that you will be capable of giving birth to 100 sons.
Ah, okay.
And after
Okay.
you had that, then you could give birth to 100 sons. You could be a father of 100 sons because you had that much punya or
Wow.
good deeds in your
So
baggage.
you suffer.
That is
What
why it
I
took 51 lifetimes for you to suffer that pain.
It's so complex and complicated, all of this.
But it's logical.
The theory, it seems it's endless. It's just going to carry on and on. And
Unless
that's
you
why
learn
all,
how to stop it.
yes. And so how do you stop it?
Yeah. So basically, you don't do anything wrong consciously.
Hmm,
That's the first thing. That consciously you don't do anything wrong. Whoever, whatever they may have done, you don't have to be responsible for their karma. You just be responsible for your karma.
hmm,
And you see to it that you are always doing the good thing and the right thing that needs to be done. And second thing is make it a practice to say Sarvam Krishnarpanam Astu. That means whatever I have done, I give it to Lord Krishna or whoever Lord you may believing in.
hmm,
When the doer is God, then the after effects of the karma also don't come to you.
hmm,
Problem is people are not able to give their good deeds away. They're
hmm.
not doing bad deeds consciously, but then you have to give the good deeds away also.
Let's take a very simple example of I'm driving on the road.
Mhm.
Somebody cuts across. I say bad words. It's already done. It's so natural. Anything. Your son gets bad marks in your in his exam, and you start thinking about, oh God, I've spent so much money, and I really wanted him to
Yeah.
study, and what's all this, and the reactions are so natural. How do
Yeah.
you?
So first you need to understand what emotions are and how you need to control your emotions. Emotions can't be controlled, but the actions of emotions can be.
Hmm,
Emotions are reflex actions. See, you may feel angry, which is natural and normal, but you don't
hmm,
have to act under the influence of that anger. That you
hmm,
have a choice of. And basically, you need to understand that there are only two feelings in the world: love and fear. All the
right.
emotions are either different quantities of love or different quantities of fear. Someone cuts past you at a traffic signal and you said you give bad words.
Hmm,
Basically, you are inside very scared that something could have
hmm,
happened to
yeah.
me, to the vehicle, or to that person because
Or
of
to that
me.
person.
But we have been taught that you should not be scared. You should be a very brave person all the time. We are feeling scared inside, but we don't want to accept that to even to ourselves. So we immediately change that fear into something which is socially acceptable, and that is anger. People
Hmm,
think anger is like, yes, you must get angry. If you don't get angry, you're not a human being. Which
hmm,
is of course true. Yes, you don't, but that's an emotion. You don't have to act in that emotion all the time. You can go to the root of it, that why am I angry? Because every time you are angry, you're scared inside. There is
hmm,
some insecurity that you're feeling inside. If you deal
hmm.
with that insecurity, automatically you gain control over your actions.
And that also leads to, I suppose, trying to lead more and more of a conscious life,
Yes.
more and more conscious of your
Yes.
every little task and
Yes.
action. How does
Yes.
one do that?
It automatically starts happening when you start meditating.
That easily brings me to my next question. You were given the sanskar, or we can say you were initiated into meditation by your grandmother at age 5. Oh, it's a habit for you, right? I mean, you
Yeah.
don't even have
Yeah.
to make an effort. What is a simple meditation technique that anybody at all, any age, anybody can do?
The simplest one is the one Gautam Buddha has taught all of us. Anapanasati, it is called. That is observing your breath.
Hmm,
Just sit down with your eyes closed and start observing your breath, because that is something which we can do anytime, anywhere. Whenever we are traveling, we have an excuse that, oh, my mat is missing, or oh, my flame is missing, or, if you do it on a flame, or if you do it on some mala, or if you do it something with a picture in front of you,
hmm,
then you need to carry that with you. Breath is something which you always carry with you. It becomes very easy to observe your breath, and
yeah.
slowly and steadily it will start happening.
But what will start happening as an effect of meditation? I mean, we talked about being more and more conscious. What is the incentive to meditate? I
It's
mean,
not just something to do with consciousness. It's also the biological benefits that you will see. With meditation, there have been a lot of research on people who have meditated. A lot of it you can find on internet also. A lot of it. Like the brain patterns of people have been studied. It has been found that the reasoning and planning ability of people improves. The memory of people improves. The gray matter in your brain improves. The longevity of the brain is higher. It has a positive effect on your hormones, your entire digestion system, excretion system, everything in your body. Having these spiritual goals shouldn't ever be your goal. They are a side effect of meditation, I would, but you should definitely meditate to bring these biological benefits into your daily life, because today's world is so much engrossed. Unless you are conscious about what you're doing every moment, you will just end up being absolutely energyless. So if you want that to sustain yourself in this hectic schedules and hectic, meditation is the only way out.
So of course, in the scriptures and the age-old idea is that meditation will lead you to God. What are your thoughts of God?
Let's call it higher consciousness. If you have read Carl Jung, or his works on psychology and everything, you will be aware of the phenomenon of conscious mind and unconscious mind. Okay, so he says that your conscious mind is just the tip of the iceberg, and 90% of your mind is actually unconscious to you. See, when you sleep at night, right, you get up in the morning and you say that I had a very good night's sleep. If you were sleeping, who told you you had a good night's sleep? That unconscious mind is the observer. More and more that unconscious mind is revealed to you, it starts becoming conscious. And I think God is someone who has complete 100% conscious mind.
So is it possible to experience God
Like I said, it will take practice to do it. And of course, maybe not just one lifetime is enough for it. Knowledge is not carried through lifetimes. Wisdom is carried through lifetimes.
Okay.
Wisdom is knowledge implemented in daily life.
Right.
When you implement the knowledge in daily life, it becomes your wisdom. And once it becomes your wisdom, you will carry it through different lifetimes.
Yes.
So once you become meditative, you start experimenting with meditation. All those experiences that you will have will be carried with you into the next lifetime. Next lifetime, you will automatically come in touch with people who are doing such things, or who will introduce you at a younger age.
Like you said, this will take lifetimes, and this is what puts people sort of off from spiritual sadhana. All these images that you're given through films and through stories, that of this sadhu meditating on the top of the hill on one leg or something, or doing this agori, which is really difficult tapasya, and you think, oh, that's not for me. What is spiritual sadhana, and how does one start with this? Sadhana, by the way, is practice. So how does one start with spiritual practice? What is it?
Basically, we have to first understand that we are not human beings having spiritual experience. We are spiritual beings having human experience.
We are not human beings having a spiritual experience, but
we are spiritual
beings having a
human experience.
Okay.
So your spirit is, yes, your soul. See, when you die, something leaves your body, right? You vacate the body. When you die, you vacate the body. It's not just the oxygen. Otherwise, people would have put oxygenation for the dead body and they would have become alive again. It doesn't happen, right? So there's something that leaves your body when you die. If you die in a hospital, okay, and the news reaches people that you are dead. So and so person is dead. What question do they ask? They ask, has the body been brought? They don't ask whether Revati has come back home. Once you are dead, you just exist as a body. Everybody talks about you as a body. Nobody talks about you as a person. They're going to say the body has to be taken to the cremation. So that something in me is that spiritual thing. It is already there. It's just that I have to experience it in this human form, because human form has 5 senses, which are the way to pain and way to pleasure as well. See, have you ever seen students who do 2 years in 1 year kind of thing? They can just skip a year, like they will do 4th and 5th together and immediately go into 6th, or they will do 2-3 years together and immediately go into 8th. So we also have that choice. Do we want to progress at that level, in that speed towards spirituality? Then fine, you can just let go of all your possessions, let go of your attachments, and you can just focus on that one thing. and you will have it in one lifetime. But because we are people who are not so easily, we can't so easily detach from things, we can't so easily, that is why we need many lifetimes. It's like going year by year
Yeah.
till graduation. But one day we will definitely graduate. Everyone does. And we
So,
have also got the choice of how much years we want to remain in the same standard. That is also our free will. I
yeah.
don't want to progress, and that's fine with God is not in a hurry. Universe has a lot of time. For universe, time doesn't really exist. It exists for us.
So for somebody who is in this at this super progressive rate, let's say somebody who's given up and who's doing really well spiritually, does that mean that person will not have to be born again and all his karmas, etc., are all do they burn off, or what
Yes,
happens?
they do burn off, and he will be given a choice whether he wants to come back to enjoy.
Just a few minutes ago, we talked about how wisdom can be carried over. What
Okay.
gets carried over is what I'm trying to ask. Yeah.
We have this in Indian psychology. We have this concept that the human body is not just one simple physical plane. We
Hmm.
exist in five koshas. It's called Panchakosh,
Hmm.
right? The outermost is this Annamaya Kosh, which is fed on food, which we call the body, which is very gross, which we can touch,
Yeah.
which we can. The inner one is the breath body,
Hmm.
which is called Pranamaya Kosh.
Hmm.
It depends on how you breathe and everything, all your breathing functions. Then
Hmm.
is your Manomaya Kosh, which is of your thoughts and emotions.
Hmm.
Then there is the unconscious mind beginning, which is Vijnanamaya Kosh, which is of intuition and wisdom. And the
Right.
Anandamaya Kosh, which is pure happiness.
Hmm.
Satchitananda,
Hmm.
which is eternal, which is true, and which is bliss. So the Anandamaya and Vijnanamaya Kosh get carried over.
How do you explain things such as, instances of such and such a child had a mole on some place or something, and then proof that this child gets reborn and it still has a mole in some certain place? Now that's all physical, right? So,
Memories can be expressed in a lot of way. If they have that birthmark, or it is for some learning which they need to remember consciously.
oh, so it's like a marker for you, right?
Yes.
We are like a lollipop of different flavors packed into this into this existence. So interesting. We were talking about consciousness. I know from talking to you in the past that you have always said that every single thing that is around us has some level of consciousness. How does all of this work? So will a chair be reborn as a chair? Will I be reborn as a human being? And so when I start getting more and more conscious, I won't even be able to move. I mean, I'm sitting on a conscious sofa and I'm eating conscious food. And
So, see, basically, there is this law of physics. Most of us must be aware of it. Where there is matter, there is energy. So, if the chair exists, if the table exists, if any so-called non-living thing exists, there is
Mhm.
matter for sure,
Mhm.
which we can see, we can feel, we can touch, we can experience. So, if there is matter, there is energy. There
Mhm.
is some energy which is holding it in the place
So the
and
other
in
name
the
for energy
form.
is consciousness.
Yes, it's
Yeah.
just that we have chosen to be a living being and they have chosen to be a non-living thing or
Oh, they
experience
have
this
chosen.
lifetime. Yes, we all choose. Every soul chooses
Okay.
depending on, we call grow. The consciousness grows. It is always on the upward up. It's a one-way traffic. It doesn't come back. So it
Okay.
moves upwards, trying to become God. All the consciousness trying to become one with God.
That's why it's upwards, right?
Yes.
Okay.
So more they will gather experiences of this lifetime of experiencing a table, experiencing a chair, experiencing a cupboard. Some lifetime they will also take a human form.
Right. Okay. So does that also mean that if I'm a human being, I can't go downwards? I can't become a frog or something in the next life?
Not unless your dying wish is something like this. Then maybe
Oh,
for one lifetime you will.
only everything is
Generally, it is not up backwards. We generally go only upwards.
okay. And you said something interesting there, Revati, which we haven't touched upon. You said the soul chooses.
There is something I will share with you here.
Okay.
Uh, okay, I don't really have a proof of it or something, but this has come to me in my meditation. See, they say that this is a fourth dimension planet, right? Earth is a
Okay.
fourth dimension planet.
Yeah.
Now, I somehow got this as a let us say signal or something like this, that the dimensions that we are talking about, they are not the dimensions as physical dimensions. They're not length, breadth, height, and that's not what they are. But the first dimension is existence. Second dimension is existence and feelings. Third dimension is existence, feelings, and reaction. And the fourth dimension is existence, feelings, reactions, and learning. So the first, when I say existence, it includes all the non-living things. Existence and feelings is all the plant life.
Yes.
Existence, feelings, and reactions is all the animal world.
Oh, that's
Existence, feelings,
beautiful.
and learning is the human world.
That really is beautiful, Revati.
That is, I don't have a proof of it, but it makes sense to me. And that is how the consciousness moves upwards.
Let's say I die today. I want to ask you the question of what happens now. Whatever leaves me is that consciousness or soul, or I don't know how to term it.
Yeah.
And then
So,
now what happens?
Many people who have done past life regression therapy, done experiments with it, they have written down these examples as well, whatever I'm sharing.
Okay.
So they have written this as, people when they die, they generally are taken care of by the angels and they see their whole lifetime like a movie. And they come to realizations where they went wrong, what they did right. They plan their own lifetimes, the next lifetimes, along with those guiding angels.
In the Indian terminology, I don't know what angel is. Is that like Gandharva or something like that? Or
If we can just call him a guide, Devdut. They will help your soul learn whatever mistakes you have done, what realizations, and help you plan your next lifetime accordingly, depending on all the unfinished business that is there. Indian psychology or speaks. Can I just speak about that? I don't know karma. So
yes,
we have this something called prarabdha karma, Sanchit karma, and Agami karma. Okay, Sanchit karma is like a huge balance sheet of your karmas from all the entire lifetimes that you have lived. It's like a storehouse. There are positive things, there are negative things, but they don't cancel each other like the commerce balance sheet. You have to go through the positives and the negatives. Not that you have done only good deeds in this lifetime, so there is no unfinished business. No,
So it
that's
doesn't
not
get
true. You will have to come back to receive it back again. Till you have given it away to Sarvam Krishnarpanam Astu, you will have to come back and receive the good things that you have done.
right.
You may do wrong things and again add to your balance sheet because you're not aware. That your house is your Sanchit karma. Okay, so when you are reviewing your past lifetime and you are planning your next lifetime, your guiding souls will tell you how much you can bear, and only that will be given to you as your prarabdha karma, which we call destiny, which we call incidences that happen, which we must go through. Then comes your agami karma, which is your choice in this lifetime. Whenever you're born, after you're born, incidents happens, but your present karma will choose whether you will finish it or you will add to it. For example, if you have to serve, say, your old in-laws or old parents, it is a destiny thing for you. But if you are getting angry about it, if you are cursing them for it, you are adding on to the balance sheet. Even though you are finishing this, you're creating a new unfinished business because the understanding is missing. Everything that you do in this lifetime is your agami karma.
So you take all of this and then the soul decides, okay, what all I'm going to work on. If there is a long list, then I say, okay, I want to work on ABC.
Yeah.
With the help of guiding souls.
Yeah, they tell you that, okay, C is not right now for you because your soul is not developed to handle C yet. You can take D if you want. So that becomes your prarabdha karma. And that is why it is said that destiny never makes you happy or sad. Your karma does. Your free will is stronger than your destiny. Destiny does not give you happiness or sadness. They are just incidences for finishing your unfinished business. What you do with them makes you happy or sad. Let's just take this example because I find it very much inspiring. There are so many women who have to face acid attacks, unfortunately. But it depends on them whether they still rise up and become models with that personality, get the courage within them, and inspire the world, or they go into depression, wrong thing. Unfortunate things that happen to them. That makes them happy or sad. So your agami karma makes you happy or sad. Your prarabdha does not. Your prarabdha is just unfinished business that is being finished.
Two ladies suffering from the acid attack, the acid attack is the same, and that temporary suffering is the same. But how you turn it, this way or that, is what's going to this sort of comfortably and nicely leads us to our next question, which is just the reality of modern times is that we are suffering with more and more of these lifestyle diseases. It's become commonplace for people to suffer from depression, from self-harm, addictions, suicide. It's more and more commonplace and more and more commonplace across the age groups as well, for both men and women. Why? And how to work on this, how to stop this.
First of all, people are going more and more materialistic, becoming more and more alone. The virtual world is huge, but the real world has shrunk. The real people in their life are missing. And then they have these concepts of freedom, independence and personal space, and where there is absolutely no one to support them when they need someone.
So in fact, you're making yourself more and more lonely.
Yes, we have become more greedy. The universe can fulfill everyone's needs. It cannot fulfill everyone's greed. We have to learn to differentiate between what is my want and what is my need. I may want a lot of things. Do I really need them? If I'm doing something, do I really need to do it? Why am I doing it if I don't need to? Depression, or, it is an attitude. It is a choice we make in some unfortunate moment. If we don't have the knowledge, if we don't have a right person to guide us.
So again, the answer is become more and more conscious,
More and more aware. Yes. And improve your knowledge. Not just, just don't go with whatever comes to you. Just do. People have stopped reading. That is so unfortunate. In fact, now the material available is so huge because of the internet, thanks to it. Any topic that you want, you can read about it. But people are so busy playing games or, just spending their material wealth. And in olden days, when people used to actually read physical books, they were reading much more. Than what they are reading now, when it is at their doorstep, at a fingertip. It's in the touch of a screen. I mean, it's just one click away. We don't want knowledge. We don't want to improve. It's become like students who choose to stay in the same standard again and again. That is more leading to these things. Self-harm, or, self-concepts being wrong, expectations being unrealistic.
What do you mean by expectations being unrealistic? That you have pictured, you have this picture of an ideal life, and
because on the virtual screen everything seems so rosy, na? See, in Marathi there was a saying, my grandmother used to say, की हॉल मधनं गेलं की सगळ्यांचे सोफे छानच दिसतात, स्वयंपाकघरात गेलं की प्रत्येकाच्या चुलीला 3च पाय असतात. Nobody is showing their kitchen. And there's no one on whom I can rely on today, because I have made myself, so limited because of my personal space concepts. I don't like anyone saying a single word, like, it just feels like insult. And I mean, this is in the younger generations, it is more and more today.
How does one, because you do parents counseling as well, it's something that the modern world just has, internet, all these devices, all these games that, we were talking the other day about this game where you can just pick up guns and shoot each other, have this virtual city and build up. Really the ideal person, maybe the biggest gunda or the goon in town is the ideal person. How do you work with children? How do you help them make these right choices?
We need to educate them. We need to educate. First of all, the parents need to educate themselves. Parenting is no more a task. See, in olden days, there used to be 8 to 10 children per couple. And, children used to just grow up together with each other. But there were no external influences as such. But today, when there are so many external influences, parenting really needs to be learned as a skill before giving birth to children. Couples need to be aware of this, that parenting is not just the joy thing. It is also a responsibility. And you need to make yourself capable of taking the responsibility. No change happens in a day. Whether the child goes towards gaming addiction or the child becomes a person who can make right choices, nothing happens overnight. It is right from the time the child is born. The child is observing the conversation the adults are having, observing the way adults around him are treating each other, observing the way they are spending their time. If you want your child to read book, you need to read book yourself. The child needs to see you reading. Be the change you want to create.
There was another interesting thing that you also said to me about addiction, and that was any addiction is where you're trying to
run away from your emotions.
Yes, that's it. That's it. And addiction could range from anything like sucking your thumb or biting your nails to something really major like
Yeah.
drugs, right?
Yes.
So any addiction, if one is any addiction the same, and is it true that with every addiction you're trying to avoid or run away from something,
Yes.
and how do you
Yes.
deal with it again?
See, basically, if you are a mature adult and you're seeing that you have addictions, you can deal with it yourself. If it's a child, then it needs to be handled in a different way. But
Hmm.
let's speak of adults as of now.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
if you know you are addicted, you are definitely running away from some emotion that is bothering you.
Mhm.
Most of the times, you will find that people, when they are anxious or they are depressed, they will try and seek their solace in these addictions. So you need to face what happening, what is happening within you, in the world inside you. You need to understand why it is happening, what is happening. You need to face it. If you are anxious, you need to face your anxiety, that why am I feeling so anxious, what is to lose, what exactly is going to happen if this doesn't happen, and
Mhm.
if it does happen like this, then what is at stake, does it
Mhm.
really matter to me? And you will realize 90% of the times it is nothing very serious. I give this lectures in pre-primary schools generally,
Okay.
right from the age of 2.5, when they are coming to school. Children generally cry in the first week when they are
Yeah.
first going in the school, and all most of the boys will be told that, you're a boy, you should not cry. I'm like, why are you doing this?
Mhm.
Even boys feel sad. Even boys are crying because they're going away from their mothers. Just like girls are crying because they are going away from their mothers.
Mhm.
Why is a boy or a man not allowed to cry? And then when they grow up, they just don't know what to do with those sad feelings. If four friends, like four girlfriends, are sitting at a table
Mhm.
and discussing certain life issues, they will be talking about how things are not in the right thing, and how they are not having good experiences and how it is not right, and they'll be compassionate towards each other,
Yeah.
understanding each other. But
Mhm.
if four men are sitting and discussing, it will be how like everything is okay in their life.
Mhm.
So they don't really have that shoulder on which they can unburden themselves, and
Mhm.
that is why we see most of the men turn towards addictions more. Women generally speak their hearts, they are allowed to. Right
Yeah.
from a young age, they are allowed to cry, they are allowed to whimper, they are allowed to be mood off. It's accepted in society. So they will
Mhm.
speak it out, they will speak it to their mothers, they'll speak it to their sisters, they'll speak it to
Mhm.
their friends, they'll speak it to their neighbors. If the
Yeah.
relations are good, they'll speak to their mother-in-laws, sister-in-laws. And
Yeah.
if they don't find anyone, they will speak to their servant, the maid servant,
Yeah.
which men don't find, I think, the occasion to, or a place where they can unburden themselves.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
it's always these heavy emotions that you want to get out of it, but you don't know how. So then
Mhm.
addiction is the easiest way. At least
Mhm.
for that time period, it is over.
Mhm.
And
So
then when
you
you
have.
get up afterwards, you are like, nay, nay, push it aside, I have work to do. So
Mhm.
finally you just keep putting it under the carpet.
Similar.
Nowadays, even the girls, they are being grown up like they have to become man.
Mhm.
And in that process, I think even the girls are going towards addictions.
Because of course in this new world equality is for a woman to become a man rather
Yeah.
than such.
Women
Yeah.
becoming complete woman and man becoming a complete man is equality. We don't have to turn women into men and men into women. We don't have to do that. We need to help them accept their femininity with grace,
Mhm.
and we need to help them accept their masculinity with a gentle tone.
There's another thing that I always find very fascinating, that society and culture has taught us. So when there is a silence, it's always an awkward silence. If there is a group of people sitting, and if there is a
Mm.
silence, then somebody will quickly speak up to make the noise. Is that why maybe we find something like a meditative activity just impossible to do?
See, there is a difference between loneliness and aloneness. If the
Okay.
silence makes you feel lonely, then there is a problem. If the silence makes you feel alone, then it is fascinating. It's bliss. So we need to work on ourselves whether the silence makes us feel lonely or it makes us feel alone. This
Going
has
back to.
become a tagline nowadays that, I like to be alone. This has become like a fashion thing. But we need to ask ourselves, am I really alone? What am I
Mhm.
doing when I'm alone? I'm either with a book and a cup of coffee,
Mhm.
or I am sitting in the window looking at the traffic,
Mhm.
or I'm surfing through the TV channels.
Mhm.
Is that alone? No, that's not alone. When you are completely alone with yourself, you need to be at peace. It is because you are lonely, you're doing these things. You're surfing channels, or you're watching traffic, or you're reading something, and you call that I'm happy to be alone. You are happy to be undisturbed. You're
Yeah.
happy to be, saving yourself from the trauma that may be caused in communication.
So I think we are coming up to the last few questions now. As I said to you, I wanted to talk to you about foods and consumption. I've heard you talk about this in another video, and that is how consumption affects you. So and another interesting thing that you said is consumption is not just consumption as in food consumption or drinking, but it is consumption through each of your senses.
We are all electromagnetic beings. We all have a frequency at which we vibrate, right? If you've done an EEG of your brain, your brain is functioning at a beta frequency. It's 18 to 38 cycles per second. So
Okay.
continuously, when you're aware, when you're awake, when you're reacting, when you're watching, you're functioning at that frequency. Just like we are electromagnetic beings, everything we are doing is also kind of electromagnetic radiation around us. The phone, the TV, whatever it is affecting you. It is affecting your brain waves. You are
Because there's
taking it in. Yes. And your emotions are also affecting your vibrations. A happier person looks calm and a sad person looks, aura-less. We see that with naked eyes, right? We don't have to actually be aura readers for that.
Yeah.
We can sense who is actually happy and who is just posing to be happy. We can easily differentiate. That's the vibration we have, each one of us. And everything that we are seeing, we are smelling, it affects us. Have you ever noticed that if you go from near a dustbin, you suddenly feel very bad. Suddenly it just affects you. And if you're going for some interview and suddenly you smell dhoop or you smell something like agarbatti, you just feel like, okay, yes, all's going to be well. Even that, it boosts your vibration or it lowers it. So these are common examples which we have experienced, all of us. TV serials, we are watching something so engrossed in that emotional drama, we are not able to switch off when the button is off, when the program is off. We keep ruminating about it, thinking about it, comparing our life situations with it. It is affecting your vibration.
That
Food
was
that you eat, of course, is affecting you. Have you seen, you keep coriander in fridge, in say a plastic bag? Yeah. And when you remove, there is water vapor inside because it's breathing. How else there will be water vapor inside? It's alive. Any food stays in that alive state for 2 hours after cooking. I am a very person who advocates vegetarianism. Finally, when you eat non-vegetarian, you're actually eating a dead body. That definitely has a very, very low frequency. Any dead body has a very low frequency. There have been experiments all over the world with vibrations, and they have found that the vibrational dead body vibrations are very low. When you are deceased, your vibration reduces. If you have things like cancer, your vibration is different. When you're happy, your vibration is different. So what we are eating also is affecting our vibration. Then why do we choose to, lower our vibration with the food?
And that's why I eat fresh food, because it's got
Yes.
a higher
Yes. It's got a higher energy.
because the food that we're eating is alive. Are we again producing karma because we're eating something that's
Okay. Now, this is something very interesting because the chakra theory that we have, we have 7 chakras. All the, let's say, animals or human beings have 7 chakras. But plants begin their chakras from Anahat chakra. They don't have the lower 3 chakras. Have you ever seen a plant struggle for its survival? No, they don't
I
have
mean, they
the.
do go towards the
Yeah,
sun.
but if you cut them, if you harm, I mean, if there is no, they just die away. They don't struggle for it. They don't have fears of survival. They don't have survival threats. They don't
They don't
react to it in
focus.
that manner. They don't have the Muladhara chakra. Have you ever seen a plant angry or sad because his offsprings are not coming up? They don't have Swadhisthana chakra. The plants don't have Manipur chakra because they can create their own food. They don't need a Manipur chakra to
Wow.
process their food. They
How
begin their journey from Anahat chakra. So even if you kill a plant, it only gives you blessings.
okay.
That is why even if you crumble a flower, it will just give you fragrance, even when you are actually destroying it. But try crumbling meat piece in your hand.
Yeah. But today's reality is that people are working. In India, for example, it's so hot in certain regions that people prefer to cook before it sort of gets too hot in the kitchen, or people are working. And so in today's world, it's getting more and more difficult to cook and then eat within two hours.
See, if you're having your lunch at say 1 o'clock,
Hmm.
is it really difficult to cook at 11? See, if you have an office, like you have to cook in the morning and you have to go for
Hmm.
your office, then
Yeah.
that's a different story. You have to
Yeah.
carry your tiffin at 9 o'clock. You can't
Hmm.
cook at 11.
Hmm. Hmm.
But in that case, again, if it's vegetarian food, you can, still improve it by adding something raw there, like, coriander or say cucumber and tomato or onions.
Mhm,
You
mhm.
can carry that raw things with you, and you can just add up at that moment to make it fresh again.
Right. Okay. So that's the way to boost
Yeah,
up
it
that.
can happen. It can happen.
The vibration between a whole tomato as against chopped up tomato will be slightly less, right?
Slightly different, yes, but it is still alive. Even if it
And
is chopped up, it is still alive.
yeah, and so the very fact that you're doing something at the very last minute
Yes.
boosts up the energy of the
Yes.
food.
Yes. Because the
People,
anahat energy is very high. The anahat energy in itself, the heart chakra energy in itself is very high. The love energy. It's a love energy.
it's because the plants have a very high
Yes. Yes.
anandamaya.
Yes. So in general, they have a higher energy, higher
Mm.
vibration.
And so
Any
in that,
animal that is killed is going to experience grief, is going to experience pain, is going to, the soul will leave the animal,
Mhm, mhm,
but those things that will stay with the body, with the
mhm,
corpse. And
mhm,
that is why in Hindu psychology, in Hindus, they cremate the bodies, because
mhm,
fire destroys everything, even the anger and pain. It just destroys it. It's like
mhm,
an alchemy set thing. Fire is like an alchemy. It converts it into just ashes,
mhm.
neutral. But in case of these things, you don't actually turn them to ashes and eat, right? You eat them.
Yeah.
So you eat those emotions as
Going
well.
back, just wondering if is that why, for example, using a dressing in the Western culture at the very last minute, a sprinkle
Yeah,
of oil, some
maybe.
basil or something, or in our Indian cooking, the last minute addition of a tadka or
Yes,
ghee at the very
yes,
last minute,
yes,
is that why? Uh, so,
yes.
so so ghee is something that ghee or toop, as we call it in Marathi. I know, as per Ayurveda, it's supposed to be a very high energy food, but that
Mm.
is quite a stale food, right? I mean, how does that work?
Because it goes into the fire. It is heated up.
Ah, okay, okay.
Agni enters that food, right?
Hmm. And that's helping
Yes,
that the ghee is helping that agni to reach the food,
yes,
and therefore,
yes, yes,
right.
yes,
So does oil do the same thing as
yes,
ghee, or
yes, yes, yes. It does.
okay, okay.
But vegetarianism is what people need to understand, because you become what you eat. It actually affects your way of thinking. It affects your way of, in the long run, it does. See, I'll
Non-veg.
tell you something. There is something like, any karma, when it is judged at the final day, or say the final moment, it is judged on three things: whether you did it out of need,
Mhm.
you did it out of ignorance, or you did it out of passion. Anything that is done out of ignorance and need are not calculated for.
Hmm.
Like, if there is a soldier who is in Siachen who doesn't have anything to eat, he has to kill the fish there and eat, because he has to survive to save lakhs and crores of people of his country. So that is out of need.
Hmm.
But when we eat it, we eat it out of passion.
Hmm.
Even when we have other options, healthier
Hmm.
choices, we
Hmm.
eat it just to satisfy the taste buds. So then that deed will be accounted for. People
No,
don't
what is,
understand the concept of love, anyways.
yeah.
We need to broaden our definitions. People have very rigid definitions.
Tell us what love is. So what is love?
Love is everything that the universe is made of. It's the basic energy of this universe
Hmm.
that functions. It's only because of the love energy that the universe is still going, irrespective of all the chaos. Love is compassion. Love is care. When you water a plant, you love the plant. When you cook for your children, you love the children. It's not something to be, the mushy mushy thing, and it's not so shallow. It's a
Hmm.
very deep thing. When you understand someone's pain as if it is your own, without forgetting the as if quality, it is love.
So, uh, going back to the plants, they are just full of love, therefore, because they
Yes,
just
yes,
but
They
and
just
on
give
the
love,
way.
and they don't even expect anything from you.
That's another thing I've heard you advocate: working in the garden, working outdoors.
Yes,
Uh,
yes, because you need to connect to your Mother Earth. It is very important for you to be grounded. And you cannot experience love until you work with plants.
okay.
Problem is, we feel that we own the plants. If I have planted a rose tree, then the roses belong to me. That is what we do. That is not love. Just try this out. I've shown it to a lot of people also. Just
Mhm.
go to the plant and just request the plant that, respect your life form, but I really need this one thing from you. It could be a leaf like the curry leaves, or it could be the rose or whatever. Will you please give me, please signal which one I should, and actually that one or two things will move. It will not at all be difficult to break off that one thing which it is showing. Without any wind or anything around, it will signal you, actually signal you. If you've come across this book, the autobiography of a yogi
Mhm.
by
Yogananda.
Paramahansa Yogananda, he has a chapter in it on Dr. Jagdish Chandra Bose. Jagdish Chandra Bose is
Mhm.
one who told us about plants being alive. He has
Yes.
also shown that utensils die. He has a chapter in that book which shows speaks about that experiment. So
Okay.
everything that you are, like I said, everything is conscious. So why
Mm.
can't you treat them the way you want to be treated? Would you
Mm.
like someone just coming and sitting on you?
Maybe not every time you're sitting on a chair saying, I'm sitting on you, but just being conscious that you're
Just
sitting on,
being that, oh, I'm so lucky to have you. Even that is love.
and that,
Expressing it that way is also love.
mm. And that's why gratitude is the highest
Yes.
emotion. Okay.
Even the birds communicate with each other.
So,
Even the plants communicate with each other. Their
mm,
sixth sense is much more developed than ours because they don't really use their five senses. And that is how the love gets communicated to them. No? They just can see you and understand whether you have a love energy or hate energy within you. The
wow.
dogs, especially dogs, elephants,
Oh, dog.
cats,
Oh,
cattle, most
show.
of the mammals actually.
Mm.
But we are so engrossed in the five senses that we have forgotten the sixth sense that we have, and we have forgotten to experiment with it. And
If people are finding this too deep, then it's not, is what exactly what Revati is telling us. You've been a very,
yes,
very wise teacher.
I'm just sharing my way of life,
Mm. And
and
what
I'm
you've
just
experienced.
helping people understand that how they can implement the spiritual concepts in their daily life. It's very easy and very simple. You don't have to think of it as something grand, something out of reach. Just by slow steps you can progress.
It's been such a pleasure. खूप मजा
Thank
आली.
you. Thank you
Thank
for
you.
interviewing very much. It's God's
I'm
wish this
hoping it will
happens.
help.
So again, once again, Sarvam
Yes.
Krishnarpanam Astu.